right, and we're back. This is episode 51 of the Taproom Podcast. I'm your host, Mike. Well, it's been a week, man. It's been fun though. I mean, it's been just a little bit busy. Work's been crazy. Trying to get stuff to post on Instagram and stuff like that while it's been busy. So, but yeah, it's been good. Week away from the Super Bowl. So, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. And the headlines and stuff like that. This episode is with Wrenhouse Brewing, Drew Poole, one of the founders of Wrenhouse. When I was out in Arizona a few weeks ago, got to talk to him. Super fun. Like, honestly, just a really, really nice guy. And their story was pretty awesome. There is a little bit of, I think most of the audio sounds fine. There is a couple times because we recorded outside. And you do hear some people like laughing in the background, and it does get a little loud at one point. I tried to clean it up as much as I could, but it was honestly really fun. So, I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And if you guys are in the Phoenix area, you have to go to this place. Every beer I had just freaking slapped. It was like honestly, it was really amazing. I'm actually going to have one today. I've been saving. And trust me, it's been tough to save because I've been wanting to drink it, especially a couple times when I've been kind of buzzed already. And I'm like, Dan, I just see it just staring at me in the fridge. But yeah, they were all freaking delicious. Also and I'll put the timestamp in the description, for when the interview starts. This one is, before I do that, it's, for Crack a Brewski. R.I.P. to Carl Weathers. Apollo Creed, obviously he's been in countless movies. He was in The Mandalorian, NFL, he was an NFL linebacker as well. So RIP to Carl Weathers. Condolences to the family. All right, but let's crack open this first beer. This one is called Natural Range. It's a West Coast IPA coming in at 7 even. It's a really cool can. I mean, I've posted it on the thing and it's going to be in the reel as well. But honestly, super cool. Like, it's a really cool can. And this one, when I tried it, I tried it during the interview, and Drew probably saw my face. I was like, holy shit. Like, it was really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crack this sucker open, eh? There we go. Let's get an old trusty Superman glass. Oh yeah. Get her done. Oh yeah, super, super clear. And and it only being 7%, they're freaking crushable, man. But the can artwork is it's a beautiful can, and oh gosh, it smells like the aroma in there is just, oh man, that's out of this world. Man, if you gave me, I don't even know. You can give me those the rest of my life, and I'd be pretty happy. Drew and the gang over there, the brewers, are just killing it. I don't throw out big fat 10s as much as I used to. But this West Coast for me is definitely a big fat 10. Man, there's times when, like I said, I've been wanting to drink it. So I've been like kind of just waiting to record this intro. And I've been super excited about it. So I'm going to crush this one. I'm going to go over to Noble later today. They have some new beers coming out. So there will be a What's New at Noble segment, at the end of this episode, after the interview. Also going to be recording a small little Instagram feature for Big Rick's Barbecue. That'll be included at the end of next week's episode, which will be episode 52. So that'll complete, the year. One full year of episodes. That is going to be with Mike Crea from Unsung and Jimmy from Noble. It was kind of like a brewer's roundtable. It was actually really cool and thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll get more into that, at the end of the outro. But it was really fun. So that'll be tacked onto that. But yeah, let's jump into some headlines. Raheem Morris going to the Falcons. Seahawks got Mike McDonald from the Ravens. Seems like, good hires. Mike McDonald's a defensive coach. We'll kind of see how that all works, to see what he does to get his staff together and all that sort of stuff. Still weird that Carroll's not going to be there. But yeah, we'll see if Carroll maybe he ends up going somewhere, maybe he's not done coaching and he goes somewhere next year. I think the big thing though, like the two biggest surprises for me are Belichick and Vrabel not coaching this year. I think Vrabel's a great coach, and obviously Bill Belichick, it speaks for himself. But I'm just kind of shocked. Like Raheem Morris got that Falcons job, and I think everybody kind of thought that was going to be where Belichick ended up. But yeah, some things play out the way they do. Even with the Commanders thing, I think a lot of people felt like Belichick was going to be the front runner and was going to get a job right away. Now I guess we're hearing talks, that he's going to be an analyst on TV. So I'm sure he would be great at that. Yeah, I'm just honestly I'm just really surprised. There's been so many different head coaching, hires and changes and stuff like that. Because obviously with Morris and that stuff, and then who else went where? I forgot. I had a whole list. Oh yeah, so we had Dan Quinn's over with the Commanders, Raheem Morris Falcons, Dave Canellis to the Panthers, McDonald's Seahawks, obviously Harbaugh. Harbaugh's getting $16 million. I was like, holy shit. Obviously Antonio Pierce, with the Raiders, Jared Mayo, with the Patriots, and Brian Callahan for the Titans. So 8 new head coaches this year for different teams. So that's interesting. It's just going to be, after next week, it's going to be a long, dark time until some football comes back. We do get a little bit of spring ball, when it comes to SC and stuff like that, but that's just, just a tease. And so is the NFL draft and all that. And that's going to be interesting too, because, the Bears kind of hold all the cards right now with that first pick and Caleb. But, I really like Drake May too. I think Drake May is a good quarterback. Jaden Daniels, I think, is a good quarterback. Maybe not as polished, maybe, but I still think he's, phenomenal. Yeah. I'm going to have another drink of this beer. So we have the Super Bowl next week. That should be, I think it's going to be a close game. I know, was it when they played in 2020? Seahawks, the Seahawks. The Niners were up big. And then, obviously the Chiefs kind of came back. Well, they came back and won that game. But I want to see what the spread is. I had it right here. Let's take a look. Oh, and of course, now. Yep. Yeah, well. Oh, well. I'll figure out the spread after. But I know it was minimal. So it wasn't anything crazy. But I believe the Niners were favored in the game. Let's see. Yep. Okay, so the Niners are favored by 2. I was able to pull it up. Sorry about that. But yeah, so it's at 3:30. Was it Mahomes and them, just when they're underdogs, they just don't lose. So if I was going to bet, I would take either I would just take the Chiefs outright. Not sure what the money line is on that, but the over-under is 47.5. Chiefs defense has been playing pretty decent. And the Niners, their defense kind of speaks for itself, but they've been giving up a lot of points in the first half, in the playoffs, and then had to come back. If they get down to the Chiefs, I feel like you could have done that against a young Packers team. I feel like you can do that against a Lions team that it's their first time in the playoffs, their first time in NFC Championship, and maybe ever. I can't remember, but I just know it had been, obviously forever since they were in the playoffs. So I feel like you can do that against those kind of teams, but I don't think you can do that against the Chiefs. If they get down early, I wouldn't be surprised if, I think it's going to be a close game, but I would not be surprised if they got down early, they aren't able to dig themselves out of that hole. As well as Brock Purdy is playing, as great as Christian McCaffrey is, Mahomes is just so hard to get down. He can't, it's not like, I mean, Jordan Love, they didn't really, they didn't really pressure him all that much. And even Jared Goff, they did get to him, but Jared Goff's obviously not as mobile. So, but Mahomes is just so hard to take down. So, I mean, I think if they want to be able to do that, they're going to have to get him on the ground. But yeah, all right. Next week, what else I got next week? For the Super Bowl, I'm going to give out I'll tell you guys the menu for next week. I'm going to be making pizzas. So I make the dough, roll it out, and toss it in we have an attachment for the smoker. It's like a pizza oven that goes inside that attaches to the smoker. So I'll be making pizzas. So I'm going to be absolutely covered in flour. I promise it's flour. So I'll be making pizzas. I'm going to be making like a queso type dip that I always make. Also going to make fried jalapeno coins. What else I got on the menu for next week? Probably some like little smokies and stuff like that. But the big thing is always the pizza that always goes. Oh, potato skins. I'm going to be making potato skins. So it's going to get wild. Probably going to weigh. I'm probably going to, put on a few pounds after all the beer and all that. So that should be fun. But all right, I'm going to shut up now. I hope you guys enjoy the interview with Drew. Make sure you check them out at Wrenhouse Brewing on Instagram. Like I said, and if you're in the area, like I've been to quite a few breweries out there. Also, I love, but definitely check out Wrenhouse. The beers are phenomenal. It's cool how they converted an old bakery into a brewery. So it's pretty kick-ass. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Stay tuned for the What's New at Noble segment. All right, guys, we're back in the tap room. I'm your host, Mike. I have a very special guest on today, Drew Poole from Wrenhouse Brewing out in Phoenix, Arizona. Botched that, of course. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. You have a pretty badass little spot over here.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's if you're familiar with Phoenix, it's definitely a place that is a little off the beaten path. We're kind of close to the airport. It's down on 24th Street in Thomas. Not necessarily popular neighborhood, but
okay.
But yeah, I mean, it works for us. It's a cool little spot.
That's awesome. I mean, I love the whole vibe in there. Love the merch. That's pretty awesome. And we're having a couple beers here. I'm drinking the Big Spill.
Yeah,
and it's a Pilsner. It smells delicious. And what are you drinking?
Valley beer.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Big Spill has got a fun little story to it. It was like our, one of our first lagers that we made, and one of our brewers at the time actually was cleaning the brewery and dumping tanks and cleaning tanks, and he accidentally started dumping our Pilsner, and it was like literally halfway down the drain when we realized he was dumping the wrong tank.
Oh no!
So Big Spill, yeah. Big Spill Pills.
There you go. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
And that's honestly delicious, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
It's crisp, clean, refreshing, super clear. You guys killed it on that one.
Thank you.
And how long has Wrenhouse been around?
Yeah, so we're coming up on 9 years. So we'll celebrate 9 years being open in June.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
So we opened, I think it's a mark of pride that we opened before the haze craze.
Yeah.
I know the East Coast was still doing their thing and Heady Topper existed, but haze hadn't been a thing. So when we opened, our flagship beer now that we have, Spellbinder, didn't exist until later in 2017 when kind of the haze craze started picking up.
Okay. That's cool. I mean, yeah, I feel like hazies, they did, obviously it got pretty wild there for a little bit.
Yeah, it got wild. That's for sure.
I mean, when you, one thing I always look for in a brewery is the first thing I'll always try is either their house pilsner or their lager, because, if those are done well, the rest of their beer is probably going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, they are hard to execute. They're very simple. There's nothing to hide behind, as brewers say, with IPAs, I don't think you can hide behind IPAs either, but you can hop the hell out of something and, cover a multitude of sins probably.
For sure.
If you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Could you tell us kind of your craft beer, your journey in craft beer? How did it all come about?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me personally, So I still have my day job. So I work in tech, and I've been working in tech for a long time. But as part of my tech job, I moved up to Portland, Oregon for a little bit, and got to know some brewery owners up there. A lot of great places that are now closed, unfortunately, like Alameda and Burnside, and some cool little like 10-barrel tap rooms kind of downtown Portland. Not really downtown, but like northeast, southeast, that sort of thing. And being from Phoenix and being a big craft beer guy at the time, and still am, but I was really into it. 15 years ago, I was like, man, Phoenix would be amazing if we could open something like this down in Phoenix. So we moved back down to Phoenix to start a family. Met my business partner Bill, where we work at our tech jobs, and found brewer Preston, who was brewing at Big Sky in Montana.
Okay.
And he came down and started this with us, and we've been brewing ever since. Now we have a production brewery up in Prescott, Arizona. We do like 7,000-8,000 barrels out of there.
Oh wow.
We do like 2,000 here in 24th Street, and then we have a restaurant in Ahwatukee, which is kind of like South Phoenix, and we're opening another place later this year.
That's awesome. And where's the new place going to be?
It's in Paradise Valley, so the former Paradise Valley Mall. So again, if you're from Phoenix, you know where that is. But it's like one of those old big malls that they basically tore down and they're redeveloping. So we're going to open like a really cool, like almost like British inspired pub there.
Okay, that's cool. Is that near Oso?
So Oso does have a location up on Shea and Tatum, which is very nearby.
Yeah. Everyone I met there was obviously really nice, and I love anytime I can go somewhere else or go to a different city or visit somewhere else and try to find a brewery out here, and I'm sure as hell glad I got to come down and talk to you. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, so they make some killer stuff. They've got a ton of locations. They still have like their nano brewery, it's kind of like Arcadia area. And then they have a production brewery in Gilbert. They make a lot of beer. So yeah, we collab with them all the time. They make some really good stuff.
That's cool. Well, next time I'm out here, if you guys have a collab going on, I definitely want to come try it.
Yeah, no, we do this pretty sweet Doppelbock with them every year that we actually naturally lager in some oak barrels.
Oh wow!
And that's always a crowd pleaser. It's pretty delicious. It's funny. It's like a style that's definitely old world that nobody really makes, like a traditional Doppelbock.
Yeah.
But when we make it, people love it.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because that's something you never see on on a beer menu ever, really.
Right.
Yeah,
you go to a craft beer bar and find a Doppelbock. Not very much.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I mean, and those are the kind of like styles that on the kind of places I like to seek out too, because like when you can find something like that you don't see very often. I even feel that way about like black IPAs or reds and stuff like that, because you don't, as good as they are, they're, for whatever reason, you just don't see them on the menu.
Well, I think the main reason is they don't sell.
Yeah, it's true.
They're like, it's hard to be a brewery and experiment all these different styles because, a lot of times they just, you make them and then they're really hard to sell. Right.
Yeah.
So, we've made a lot of pub ales in the past that, sit longer than you want.
Of course.
Or red ales, don't really sell well. But we still make them because I think we have a big enough clientele that likes trying new stuff that we can move through a 10-barrel batch of something weird.
That's awesome. But I mean, like I said, I love that because like when you can find a place that has that, it's like, that's where I'm going to go. And,
right.
And like you want to, and I always feel like, when it comes to, obviously there's a lot of, in the craft beer scene, there's a lot of different breweries out there, but when you make a quality product, people will find you.
Yeah.
And that's, when you can, if I can get the word out or, just to support or help, help the business, that's what I love to do.
Yeah. And I think, for us, a lot of the great, one of the great ways to kind of play up some of those kind of esoteric or like, weird styles, when you like really try brewing them and you're passionate about it and you win something maybe at like JBF as an example, we just won like bronze for our ESB, which again
awesome.
is another like Slepton style. you can then tell your customers, you're like, hey, yeah, we made an ESB, and you might be asking, what the hell is an ESB? But by the way, it's been recognized as one of the best in the country. So, maybe risk your $5-6 on a pint and try it out.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes sometimes it takes that them trying it to almost, because a lot of times when you walk into a craft brewery or anything like that, people are like, oh, I don't really drink beer.
Yeah,
but sometimes they find their gateway drug and and then they're hooked forever. So
yeah, well, I mean, speaking of lagers, I mean, I think that's so true. Even in Phoenix, a lot of people will come in wanting hazy IPAs.
Mhm,
They'll come in, they'll drink hazy IPAs, but when they come in more and more and more, they want to try something new.
Of course.
So they'll try lagers and they'll be like, wow, this is actually good. I'm used to drinking, and I know it's like cliche and we've been around long enough that it shouldn't be this way, but people that are like, oh yeah, I only drink hazy IPAs, but I really like Valley beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's much better than Budweiser or whatever. And you're like, yeah,
of course.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you finally tried it. I'm glad you're on board now.
Yeah. That's cool, man. And I love that. I mean, to me, that's, what more like if you can get somebody out of their comfort zone a little bit and, they can try something different, because sometimes I feel like we get so set in our ways and the stuff that we like, we don't want to venture out and try new things. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. And I think, it was funny. I was just having this conversation, with somebody, in like a craft brewers group of, some of the trends that are affecting, the microbrewery industry right now, and a lot of breweries closing and that sort of thing. And personally, I think that there's a lot of breweries that are just starting, or breweries that are doing, one-off crazy styles and whatever. And I think the customer is not really willing to spend or gamble $20 on a 4-pack.
Yeah.
From a brewery they've never heard of, on a style they've never heard of.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to take that 20 and, maybe I'm going to spend 15 of it on, a craft beer, and then I'm going to pocket my other 5 or something. I mean, it's kind of like, tight times, right? I mean,
for sure.
There's inflation and everything costs crazy. I was at a beer store the other day, and it's amazing that, Arizona, we get a lot of beers from out of state coming here because it's a big market and there's not a ton of breweries. So we get everybody from, like, Maine Beer Company just launched here, and you have all these like Equilibrium and all these crazy like East Coast breweries that are coming to Arizona. But I mean, I think a 4-pack of like Equilibrium is like $28 or something for like a hazy IPA. Which is, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Oh, for sure.
That's like, I mean, it used to be like a dinner, like you could spend 28 bucks on dinner, but yeah, so I think people are just getting more, picky with what they buy.
Yeah, I feel like it was when you said the $28 that was a dinner. I was like, that's pretty much what I spent at In-N-Out on myself.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you can get there. Yeah, a few 4x4s.
Oh yeah, that's my go-to. So, like, opening Wrenhouse, like, when did that kind of become a reality for you? Like, when was it just like, oh, we're gonna do this? Like, this is happening, kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that there weren't multiple times, we were basically ready to throw in the towel. I mean, I think it's hard. I mean, it's hard starting a business. It's hard. My partner and I, we didn't have any industry experience, so you're going to banks and, you're trying to convince bankers to give you money. And they're very conservative, right? And they're very like conservative with their investments and their money. They want like guaranteed returns and all the stuff. So it's,
of course,
you're trying to convince somebody to take a gamble on you. So that's really hard. So we put together a business plan. I think I was like 28 when we started. So I thought I knew everything, but I definitely didn't. And, just, it's like literally putting one foot in front of another, just like having that end goal in mind and just focusing on the end result and just keep pushing. I mean, even in our build out, there were multiple times where things happened to us that we could have just closed and said, fuck this, let's not do it.
Wipe your hands of it and walk away.
I mean, we had a brand that we got a cease and desist before we opened.
Oh, wow.
So, that was one thing. And then in the midst of all that, we were basically out of money and trying to pass inspection with, the county health department and the fire department and occupancy and all these like legal body, these,
red tape and all that
government
sort of stuff.
bodies, right?
Yeah.
And they would come in, and depending on which inspector you got on which day of the week, you would get a different answer. And
Yeah.
I
If they were
remember
having a bad day.
Yeah, vividly. We had one inspector come in that was notoriously a hard ass, looked around our brewery and said, this is a food production facility. It needs to be up to food production standards, which meant we had to do all these crazy things that we hadn't done.
Wow.
One of which was putting fire sprinklers in our brewery. And I actually had to write a letter to the governor and say, if you make us do this, we're going to close and you're going to kill a small business.
Wow.
So they waived it. So, stuff like that. It's crazy. It's so hard to open a small business. It's tough.
And it's crazy because, small businesses, it's like the backbone. Like, who doesn't want to support that? But especially I feel like even 9 years ago, so that would have been 2014?
Yep.
Even then, I feel like craft beer, it started to get bigger, but it hadn't exploded yet.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that made it even harder because I know sometimes just even trying to get into a certain community, like people are like, oh, what does this mean? What do you mean craft beer? What is that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I don't want to toot our own horn by any means, but I think we did pave the way for a lot of other small breweries that are opening. Just some examples so people don't think I'm
no, that's awesome.
An asshole. But literally, so when we opened, not to get super boring with this stuff, but
no, you're fine.
There's all these various rules and regulations, right? And zoning's the big thing. So almost all the breweries before we opened were all in industrial areas, industrial zoned areas, which is why you see them at air parks, you see them by train tracks, you see them in warehouse places, especially in California. You see them in industrial areas, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Like San Diego, it's all industrial areas.
Yeah, definitely.
And we were we don't want to be in an industrial area. So we found this spot that we're currently sitting at. And I was looking at the history, and it was a bakery. And I was Googling, and I found stuff on the City of Phoenix website that said bakeries are analogous or whatever. They're the same as industrial use cases. So I basically wrote a letter to the city and said, we're going to open a brewery at this location. It was zoned commercial C2. We're going to open a brewery here because it used to be a bakery, and that's basically the same thing as industrial.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, sure thing. It's approved. So now
that's awesome.
In Phoenix, breweries can open in C2 everywhere. There's breweries now opening in C2 places all over the place.
How cool is that that you did that?
So that was cool. And then we also were one of the first maybe the first to can. So we did mobile canning. So we brought in a mobile canner, and we packaged 16-ounce cans because, again, going back to rules and regulations, there was the law at the time said something about packaging for beer to go, and microbreweries weren't allowed to do that basically when we opened. We thought it was a gray area, so we did it anyways. And we actually had other breweries write into the city complaining about us, trying to get us in trouble for doing that.
Jeez.
Turned out the city didn't care. It was a gray area, and now all the small breweries around town can package in cans to go, right? So little things like that where we were fuck it, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to find gray areas, helped us out. And I think it helped out a lot of other small breweries that have opened since. But, I don't want to take all the credit for it because obviously opening a business is fucking really crazy hard. Mm-hmm. So, props to everybody who's done that. But, I think part of it is, just doing what you think is right and just pushing and making things happen.
Yeah. But honestly, though, kudos to you guys because, when I've talked to people, especially like I mentioned before, how getting into a community, sometimes that's so hard. It's that first person or that first, business owner that does do it, that does pave the way for everybody else. Because at first, I mean, like I said, a lot of people don't know. They're like, what is craft beer? What is a craft brewery? Like why are you trying to come in, and open this thing? Because they just didn't, back then they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
They didn't know what it was and what it could be. So, toot your own horn, man. Kudos.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, our whole, mantra here, at Wren is we just focus on making the best beer we possibly can. And we let the beer kind of speak for itself. We're not one of these like big flashy, hype breweries that make good beer and everybody talks about it and everybody wants to trade for it. A lot of people still haven't, they're like, who the hell is this Wrenhouse, sort of thing. But again, part of our goal is to win a lot of national and international awards and be recognized for it. And then I think it's more like that sort of quiet, like motto that we have of like, let's just keep our heads down and make good beer. I think that starts speaking for itself. And, I think people respect that, eventually. So, that's kind of what we're doing. We don't care for the, fame or everybody knowing about us as long as we, think we make great stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's, when I mentioned it earlier, like when you make quality product, people are going to find it. And, like I honestly, I looked up what are the best breweries in, before I reached out, like what are the best breweries in Phoenix? And you guys are right there. And then I went to your Instagram and I was like, holy crap, that looks good. Holy crap, this looks good. Holy crap, that looks good. And it was just like, man, I got to get over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're happy with where we're at. We're always trying to get better. We're constantly, our entire like 5-year plan or our growth plan, we don't really have one. It's more just like, let's just keep growing organically. Let's keep making good beer. Let's keep winning accounts one by one. Let's be at places we like to eat at. Let's be at places we like to stay at.
Yeah.
And just do it like the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing.
Now, what was it like when you guys opened? What was like when you guys finally opened the doors?
Yeah, it was stressful for sure. I think I had a newborn baby at home, which was also interesting. But yeah, I mean, we were dumb enough that when we opened, I remember like the AC wasn't working, and it's Phoenix in June.
Oh, geez,
which people are like dying outside. So we didn't change the filters in our tap room, so the filters were clogged up. The AC wasn't working.
Oh, no.
So it was like little shit like that. That now 9 years in, like you focus on the little stuff because it's like little things like not changing a filter that like can drastically like affect your business.
Yeah.
So anyways, that happened. I think we flew through a ton of beer, which is great. I mean, we definitely had a lot of growing pains through the years. We've grown up our production from, I think we did like 500 barrels first year, and now we're, out of here, we basically max out at 2,000 barrels. It's a 10 barrel system, very small. And then, we have Prescott, which is now a 3 vessel, 30 barrel system.
Okay.
Jake Ainsworth runs it for us. He was a head brewer at Smog City for like 7 years.
Yeah.
So he's awesome. We have a great crew. We're up to like 45 employees. So, I mean, it's like, again, we're just taking it one day at a time. When we opened, it was crazy. I drove, our first accounts, when we started distributing, I would throw a keg in the back of my Jetta and drive it to an account. And I vividly remember driving into an account, selling a keg, and the bar owner basically laughing in my face, like, because we were trying to charge, I think at the time it was like $160 for a half barrel.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, who do you guys think you are? Like, I don't pay more than $140 for a half barrel of anything. And this, 2015. And I'm like, well, I think we make pretty good beer. Like, try it for yourself. And then I had to basically eat my own words multiple times after that when, we would make a beer and, we weren't super proud about it. I'd already sold it. We have to go buy it back and go, basically like carry our tail between our legs. But that's part of it too. I think it's standing behind our quality and saying, if it's bad, we're going to fix it. If it's bad, we're not going to can it. We're not going to package it. We're going to dump it. And I think at our size of being like 9,000 barrels, that's hard to do. You're
Oh, for sure.
making, you got 100-barrel batch of something in the tank, and you're like, yeah, we don't think of this as that great. You got to dump it. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, those kind of sacrifices, I mean, you kind of have to make when you're doing something like that. I mean, that's got to be, I mean, it's tough,
Yeah.
But also, I mean, you want to put out a quality product, like, we talked about. So, I mean,
Right.
that's, one of the best things. I was curious about the name because I know like the wren, the bird, and stuff like that. But it was like, where did that come from for you guys?
Yeah, so I mentioned we got a cease and desist right before we opened, so we were named something else that I will not mention because I don't want to get sued.
No worries.
But Wrenhouse, it was a combination of us being like literally in a bungalow here on 24th Street. It's literally like an old house. And then, the cactus wren is state bird, Arizona. So it was it made sense at the time. I think it's worked out really well. I think it's pretty, I wouldn't say iconic, but it's memorable. Like people remember it when they hear it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's why as soon as I saw it, I saw the logo. I mean, like, just like the font, that you guys use, for the wording and everything like that. Everything looks really cool. And I really love this building that you guys are in. As soon as I pulled up, I was like, man, this is badass. Like, this is cool because
Well, we've had a lot of people that have said it's, run down in a shitty neighborhood. And
no, but to me, it looks great. Like, I mean, and I love this back patio you guys have. I love the inside. I love, all the wood and everything like that. I mean, to me, this would be, if I lived here, this would be my Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be here all the time.
Oh, we definitely have. One of the things that it was hard to do at the time, but we were like, no TVs, right?
Yeah.
So we have no TVs. A lot of people that come in here that are regulars, I mean, again, it sounds cliche, but people make friends here, and they make friends for life here. Like I can't name how many people I've personally met, but that become friends with, other people that come into the bar, and they're like best friends, and they hang out all the time outside the bar, and they're like, yeah, we met at Wrenhouse, and I don't know. It's cool to see that happening. It's like a communal space.
Yeah, and one thing I've always wanted this show to be is like one dude sitting across from another dude, or sitting across from a female, or whatever, or anything. Just being able to have a sitting down at a brewery having a conversation.
Yeah,
and that's what I've always thought this would be. Because I mean, maybe you saw each other and you're like, oh, we're drinking the same beer, or we ordered the same beer, and you just gonna go off to the races there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting, and I try to get behind the bar as much as I can. It's not a lot lately, but I would regularly come in and either bartend or just jump behind the bar and talk to people.
Yeah,
that are coming in, and like one of the collabs that we're doing recently, we're doing a new series with the National Forest Foundation, and it's because literally around the corner we have one of the National Forest Service buildings. Okay. I don't know why it's down here, but like Tonto National Forest has like a ranger station down by our tap room, and they come in all the time, and they're like, hey, there's this huge fire that basically destroyed like 100,000 saguaros.
Wow.
We're trying to raise money for it, and we're like, why don't we make a beer and donate a portion of the proceeds to buy some seeds or saplings for saguaros and go plant them all over this fire area. So it's like stuff like that you meet people that you would never even imagine. Like we have game and fish people that come here all the time. We have government officials. We have people that work for the Phoenix Suns. People that work all this stuff that you would think about. Yeah. And they're just hanging out in the tap room, and then you run across them. You're like, holy shit. Oh, well, how can we, I don't know, collaborate, grow a relationship, that kind of thing.
For sure. And honestly, how great is the craft beer community? At least I feel since I started doing this show. Before this, I had another show with my buddies. We did 100 episodes, but it was all about just talking about craft beer and stuff like that, or reviewing craft beer. But since I started this one, where I'm talking to brewers or owners and stuff like that, everybody's so welcoming. Everybody's just nobody's just and people love to collab, and it's not like that in every industry. I feel like there's so many out there where it's like, no, this is my corner, this is my thing, get away.
Yeah.
Where in craft beer, it's not like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, the industry is great that way. It's going to be a really interesting year. I think, we've seen tons of stuff, even just like in the last 2 weeks of like breweries closing or, Green Sheep buying Bagby and like all this crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of change this year, but I agree. I mean, I think beer people, like when you run into them at GABF or whatever event, listen event, I think it's just like, down to earth, kind of like almost blue collar mentality of just we make a product, we're passionate about the product we make. People enjoy the product we make. Hyper local is super important.
Yeah.
Like people care that it's made down the street. People care that it's made there in their city. I mean, I think those things are really special, and I don't think those things really change.
Oh, for sure. And they're proud to call you their brewery.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and to me, like what's better than that? Like, and you have like the community behind you and stuff like that, but then you can also like, even like I was looking at your can artwork and stuff like that. I was like thinking of the kind of pictures I could take with your cans and stuff like that. Who does your merch and your can artwork and stuff like that?
So Lauren Dickinson is, she's actually our head brewer's wife, Preston. So I've been working with her since we opened, to just bounce ideas off each other and, do can labels and various, design things. I mean, we release probably 2 new beers a week. So
awesome.
It's a lot of work, right? It's, so a lot of it's inspired by, nature, Arizona, things that we see around that are important to us. But we do a lot of, international styles as well. Like Prasnabrana, which is like our house Czech pills.
I didn't even see the Czech pills. I'm probably gonna have to try that one.
So Prasnabrana is like literally, I think it translates to powder tower. It's this old like gunpowder tower in the middle of Prague.
Oh wow!
So that that's like an inspiration for one of our beers, and Mustek, which is named after like a subway station in Prague. So we do stuff like that, right?
Wow. That's cool. I mean, and like, when I was looking at the one, the snakes, the one with snakes on it.
Snakes.
Yeah. Oh, cause I was telling my buddy, cause we're going to go hiking, I think at Pinnacle on Sunday, Sunday morning. I was like, well, I'm going to get that can. I'm going to buy a 4-pack of that can. I'm going to take the one can with me, and I want to find a shot with that can, because with that backdrop, I'm sure it would just look amazing.
Yeah. And Arizona's, a cool state in that we like, the geography is so crazy. Like obviously we're in the valley. It's hot as hell, like where we're at. But it is the Sonoran Desert. We've got amazing wildlife. And then you drive an hour and a half north to our other brewery up in Prescott. And it's a mile high basically. So it's, like the same altitude as like Denver.
Yeah.
So we have like, pronghorn, like, antelope up there and stuff like that. I mean, so the geography of Arizona gets pretty crazy. But anyways, that influences a lot of our designs as well.
Yeah. I mean, nature. I mean, I love that kind of stuff too. Like when you can put together, like, I'm sure, I don't know if you do, so I can't assume, but do you like Pure Project?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, like all of their, like, cause they usually like incorporate like some kind of like either like water or like any type of element or nature and stuff like that into their stuff. And I love that. But I love your guys' can artwork, because it's like almost like those, like, well, at least on the snakes one, almost like those pastel kind of colors.
Yeah.
And like, it just, one of my great grandma, she was from New Mexico. So it was always like, it was about the turquoise and stuff like that. So seeing those colors, it just like brought me back to when I was little.
Yeah. We definitely have like a design aesthetic that, we keep up, that Lauren's really great at, but, yeah, I mean, the colors are exciting, and, we try to be creative. It's hard to like come up with something new every week, and it's like we have like a running list of names and stuff, but yeah, it's fun, and some of it's easy. We have a brewery cat, Gravy.
I saw her walking around. She was cute.
Yeah, So he's part of the Working Cat program from the Arizona Humane Society. So they give you cats at your business to keep the rodent population at bay.
There you go. Yeah, the feral cat.
But now he's like a house cat. I mean,
that's awesome.
He's lazy. He's getting fat. But anyways, we tomorrow we have Gravy Day, which is
nice.
Where we're releasing a beer. We have merch. We have the Humane Society coming, like an adoption event, stuff like that. So, speaking of like naming beers and stuff, that stuff's easy. Like, it comes to you naturally. Like, oh yeah, gravy. Let's make a gravy IPA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. Just kind of telling your story through your beer labels and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, like, I feel like counter work is obviously super important because you can have the best beer out there. But if it's not like, if you go to like a craft beer liquor store, if you go to a liquor store and you see like this can that looks kind of, not to say like plain Jane or anything like that, but then you have something that just pops.
Yeah.
Like, what's that person going to grab?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's so hard now. It's like, I don't know, some of the craft beer stores you go to, and I can imagine in California it's like this, like crazy, but a lot of states, like everything pops. And it's like when you walk in, it's like you looking at a case and it's like everything's popping. 100%. It's like, how do you make a decision?
That's so true.
Like everything is bright and shiny and looks good, right? So then you got to like investigate. It's kind of hard being a consumer nowadays.
Yeah.
You got to know your stuff.
Yeah, it was like the old days with like cable, like when you had like 11, 12 channels before, and then cable came around, and then you had like access to over 150 channels or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah. You just watch Nickelodeon and Food Network and ESPN.
Definitely. I did want to ask you too, because one thing I always love to ask anybody I have on was, because we talked about like how you got into craft beer, but was there a specific like craft, like beer or from a brewery that got you, or you were like, wait, what? Because, sometimes people have like that kind of like that epiphany kind of thing. Like, I didn't know beer could be this kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of those moments for me. I mean, I would say when I knew I wanted to make it a business, was in Portland. And it was like the differences between, drinking something from Cascade, which is, notoriously sour, like overly sour. They do like a pumpkin sour every season. And, I know people are so polar on pumpkin beers, but, that, like having that and then walking down the street and having a gigantic Brewing, like West Coast IPA, you're like, oh my God, like the range of styles is so big. And both of these beers are stellar in their own ways.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it makes you like, when I was drinking those beers at local places in Portland, you just like feel part of the place. You're like, hell yeah, I want like a bitter West Coast IPA sitting out, in a bar when it's dark and rainy outside. Yep. And it's like, it's like drizzling rain for like weeks on end. You're like, this feels good.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean,
and I want to be part of that. I want to create that sort of like sense of place, right?
That's cool. I mean, and because we all have ours, like, our stories. Mine was like the first one I think I ever had was like I want to say it was a double bastard.
No, yeah.
But I was like, I remember the first time I tried it, I was like, what is this and why am I drinking?
Yeah.
But then you like, you kind of like, I think I went to like the Stone, just like the regular Stone IPA. Then I was like, oh, And then the Arrogant Bastard kind of grew on me, and then the Double Bastard and everything else. But at first I remember I was like, what is this?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm definitely one of those people that I'm always trying new beers, new styles, new breweries, new whatever, just because I want to like, not only like expand my palate, but like, it's like a scavenger hunt. You're just like always finding something new. And it's like, the next beer might be your like almost favorite beer that you've like ever had in your life. And I think that's really exciting from a craft beer point of view. There's so many breweries doing so many good things and good 100%. Beers. Like my family and I just went to Maine, this last summer, and pissing rain. I know it's like a theme. It was like downpour rain.
Yeah.
And we were driving out, I think we were going to some like oh, we were blueberry picking. So we were out like picking blueberries, and then all of a sudden there was like downpour rain. And I'm like looking at my Google Maps. I'm like, where am I going to go? And I've got like, you know, a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old and my mother-in-law and my wife. And I'm like, oh shit, Oxbow is like it's like 10 minutes away. Wow. I'm like, how am I going to convince them to go to Oxbow? And I'm like, hey, so I'm going to make a stop real quick. There's a place up the road. You know, I know it's raining like crazy. Maybe we can just go inside and sit, whatever. And
let the rain die down.
Yeah, let the rain die down, which doesn't really happen in Maine. But it was like, you go into Oxbow and they only had like 5 beers on tap. But it was like one of those like surreal moments where it's like you're the only people in this little tap room. It's like a log cabin in the woods sort of vibe.
Yeah.
But the beers were just like mind blowing. Like I was drinking like a table saison, and you know my wife and kids were playing like Scrabble or something because they have a bunch of board games, and I'm like, this is like blowing me away. It's like blowing my mind.
That's
like
awesome.
How good this was. So I think that's like so special just about the beer industry in general. It's like you can have so many like kind of unique styles, unique beers, and again, communicate that like sense of place that makes you really special.
Mm-hmm. Your favorite style is it? Would you like? Do you like all styles, or is it like? Are you more like lean towards like the lagers, pilsner, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like if I were to have a desert island beer or something, it would definitely be like a Helles, like just like a good Bavarian Helles. I just really appreciate the simplicity. It's just a little sweet enough, a little bitter enough, very sessionable that you can drink a million of them and still enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely passionate about German lagers. I think is like my wheelhouse.
That's awesome. Do you like stouts at all or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I mean I drink everything. So don't get me wrong. I mean I will never turn down a beer of any sort. So yeah, I like stouts. We make a lot of them here. We do a big barrel aging program. We have, a membership club and all that stuff.
Okay.
So I appreciate a good stout. I think for us, we try to balance our stouts. So even if we do like a vanilla imperial stout that's barrel aged in like bourbon or rum or whatever, it's not going to be like overly sweet or overly anything. It's going to be we try to make them well rounded.
Of course. Yeah, that's awesome. I do have a couple more things I wanted to ask you, but before, is it okay if we grab another beer?
Please.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. Got a fresh natural range. It's a West Coast IPA. And this one, you said it was at 7%, I believe?
Yeah, it's like 6-7, I think.
6-7? Awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the, great things about having, making a lot of styles, but also having Jake, up in Prescott, especially is, he loves making, really nice, clean West Coast IPAs.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Man, that is... And you guys can this?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to be buying a couple 4-packs.
No, it's been great. I think we've seen definitely the uptick in West Coast IPAs. Mm-hmm. We have a beer called Renovation that we make. It's one of our cores. So it's a West Coast IPA.
Okay.
And it's been picking up quite a bit.
Awesome. And I feel like, like we talked about hazies, but I feel like lagers, pilsners, West Coast, like I feel like they never went away, obviously, but they have... Like you're seeing them, like a lot more of them. I feel like on menus where before you saw a lot more hazies on menus, but now you're seeing a little bit more like the uptick, or it's like coming back.
Yeah. No, I think they're definitely coming back
for sure. One thing I always love to ask about, obviously you guys have been here for 9 years. Do you have any fun like tap room stories or anything like that?
Jeez,
I know it's been 9 years.
I mean, probably a lot I can't talk about, but
that's okay.
I mean. I think one of the things, we get these crazy, we call them haboobs, but they're like they're not even called, technically they're not monsoons, but we call them monsoons, but they're like crazy storms that roll through Arizona, like in the middle of the summer when it's like 110 the next day, like a crazy storm will roll through. Mm-hmm. So it'll regularly knock out power poles and stuff like that. But I think we've had people, drive down 24th Street way too fast, and like we had one person like crash directly into a power pole right in front of our brewery and like explode the power pole.
Oh, no.
And the person, I think was drunk. They got out and ran away.
Jeez.
I mean, there's like stuff like that happens like all the time. You're like, oh, like this is a good week. Everything's like going well. And then somebody fucking like crashes through like, a power pole right in front of your building. So anyways, that's kind of, it comes with the territory, I guess, of owning a small business.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff happens.
Oh, yeah. It's, it's kind of, it's one of those things. I think I've talked to, one of the first episodes I had was with Mike from Unsung Brewing in Anaheim. And he was telling me, he's like, hey, so one day, like, so we had just opened. And then one day I walked up and there was a big old hole on the side of the wall because some car drove like almost through the building.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, it's like literally, one thing I wasn't expecting is like literally anything and everything can and will happen to you. Like it, if you can't even think it's going to happen, it will happen. So it's fun stuff.
Yeah. Like you said, the perks of owning a small business.
Yeah. I mean, our new restaurant that we opened down in South Phoenix, I mean, we've just had crazy stuff happen, just, middle of busy days and, the plumbing is not working, stuff like that. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy the types of things that happen. But anyways,
I bet. Yeah. So you guys opened a restaurant. What kind of food is it? Like, where was it? Like, kind of bar food or?
Yeah. So we, the restaurant we opened in South Phoenix, it's kind of like a Euro beer hall with a full restaurant. So it's called Sud Hall. We partnered with a chef locally that was nominated for a few James Beard Awards. So he makes really good food. He's kind of the head like kitchen manager guy at this place called Bacanora, which again was nominated for some James Beard Awards. So we were like, hey, we want to open this like German beer hall, but we don't want to be super literal. We want it to be like burgers and fries. So he came up with like a really great like smash burger menu.
Oh, awesome.
So we have like really interesting smash burgers down there. Fries, onion rings, all kinds of delicious food, like little snacks that you can have. And our new kitchen manager down there, Jonathan, he's been great. So we do specials now. We have like schnitzels and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, something different. We want to create like places and concepts that kind of stand on their own, that are kind of a unique experience.
Oh, for sure. And that leads me into what I wanted to ask you next is like, what's your favorite kind of like, what's your favorite food to pair with a beer?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to. I would have to say burgers. I mean, I can't think of a bad time I've had when I've had a beer and a burger. I think that's got to be the classic go-to. I'm also like a nacho fiend, so I think anything with nachos is always good.
Yeah, I feel like the big ones are always like burgers, tacos, wings, pizza, stuff like that. You can't go wrong with it. But nachos too. I mean, nachos always sound amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm weird in the sense that like when I'm eating, I don't like drinking stuff. So like I'll have like water, but like I want to like drink my beer like on its own, and then I'll eat, and then I'll drink.
Yeah. It's fun. Oh gosh, who did I just talked to someone recently and they said the same thing.
Oh, really?
They're like, I don't really like to have a beer while I'm eating.
Yeah, I'll drink beer after dinner and before dinner, but during dinner,
I get that. Yeah. No, I totally get it. But I want to say just, thank you for, being on here with me and being willing to do the show. And I know it's super last minute, but
it's all good. Yeah. Thanks for coming by, and hopefully, our background noise isn't too crazy.
That's all right.
It's a little ruckus, Friday afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, of course. But it's crazy. Like, cause I always used to think like, oh man, if there's any noise, people are going to wig out. But I've gotten so much feedback about people that they tell me that they enjoy background noise, like at a brewery, because
it's not too sterile.
Yeah, because it makes them feel like that they're at the brewery. Like while they're at work, they're like, I wish I was, wish I was there.
They're listening to this as they're like in between conference calls, some job.
Oh, for sure.
I know how that feels. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have any events coming up or anything like that?
I mean, we got Gravy Day tomorrow, and then yeah, I don't know. We try not to think too far in the future, but I don't know. We're doing all kinds of. We got our anniversary coming up, which in June, which we'll always do. A week of collabs, basically.
Okay.
And then we also, our busy season is basically like now through May.
Yeah.
Like we have spring training, we have the Phoenix Open. So all that stuff's going to start happening in the next couple months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to get pretty crazy. Like everybody flies here from all the snowy states and hangs out, which is great.
Yeah, I know the Phoenix Open gets pretty crazy, right?
The Phoenix Open gets crazy. Yeah, we're doing a bunch of special beers for the Phoenix Open, which is exciting. But yeah, I mean, we're just rolling with it.
I love it. But I mean, if you guys are gonna be doing a bunch of collabs in June, I usually come here in June. Again, we usually, because when we come out to hang out and watch we like to bet on sports, so we'll bet on like the College World Series, but we always come in June. So
nice.
Gonna have to come down and try some of those collabs.
You should go out. There is at the Cardinal Stadium. They have an MGM sportsbook.
Oh,
which is pretty sweet. It's like a separate building that has like a full bar, full restaurant.
Sounds like
nice.
The dream.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. But yeah, we have we always do literally a week of collaboration releases. Normally it's like Bottle Logic, our friends like Wayfinder, Holy Mountain, guys like that. And we always do various beers. So it's always fun.
If you have Wrenhouse and Bottle Logic on a can, count me in.
Right. Yeah. We've done, I think the last one was like a vanilla stout, obviously, because, Bottle Logic does vanilla stouts very well.
Oh, so. Yeah. And that small little brewery over there.
Yeah. I mean, they've grown up a lot.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Love you, Bottle Logic.
Yeah.
No, but thank you again, Drew. This has been super fun. And, make sure if you're in the Phoenix area, come on down. It's in off the 202, off of 24th Street.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Literally 2 minutes from the airport, I would say.
So come down, have a beer, and maybe Drew will be working behind the bar.
Maybe.
No, but thank you again. This has been super fun for me. And thank you for letting me enjoy your delicious beer.
Of course.
All right, guys.
Cheers.
So you guys stay tuned. Cheers. All right, and we're back. Back at Noble. We're with another What's New at Noble segment. I got Jimmy here with me.
Thank you for coming back again, Mike. It's fun every time, man.
Oh, yeah. Chris Taylor sitting next to me as well.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, what do we got? I know you guys got some new ones this week.
Yeah, so we just canned 4 different, 3 new ones, 1 old one that we redid. So we did an IPA. We're starting out with Tigers Are Awesome, which is the follow-up to Giraffes Are Cool, which, we're going down those animal names. And I think every time we do these, we're playing a little bit more with things we haven't used yet. So this one right here that I poured for you guys is really the big thing is this is a dry hop. It's just straight Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
Nelson done 3 ways. So it
was a 3-way.
It was,
Sorry, I got you on that one.
I'm just thinking about 3 tigers.
There you go. There's 3 tigers just going at it.
So this is done with all freestyle stuff, but it's so freestyle has, and I think I've spoken about this before. You can choose your type of hop, but from different lots, and the lots that you choose from have different flavor profiles.
Okay.
So that's kind of the thing we play with as brewers with hops. It's always the hardest. Is everybody loves like Nelson, Sauvignon, or Citra.
Yeah.
But people a lot of times you don't understand that there's a whole spectrum of different Citras and a whole spectrum of different Nelsons, and the one you tasted that thought was amazing is probably not the one that you're going to taste the next time you have Citra, unless it's from the same brewery with the same hop lot, right? So Freestyle gives the option to actually choose your lot on the when you order. So we had right here to choose, and me and Mike spoke about this last week. And this is kind of where this all comes from. Me over at Mike Cray over at Unsung, is that Nelson, when you look at the spectrum, it goes at one spectrum, I'd say it's passion fruit forward. You don't get that white wine dankiness. You get some really heavy passion fruit notes. On the other end, you get that white wine diesel dankness. So what we did this time is we used we used about 3 pounds per barrel of the passion fruit forward one, then layered on top of that with the white wine diesel note to give it a little dankness. And on top of that, we threw the Freestyles Keef, which is like just a beautiful product. It's like a little liquid can you throw on top that adds flavor. Just give it kind of Nelson that's not too much. We dried it out so that flavor bites you, then disintegrates immediately. So that every drink is like a fresh palate drink.
Yeah.
Like otherwise Nelson just gets too overwhelming. But like if you guys drink it, you guys kind of see that it is more, it's not your typical Nelson.
Oh, for sure. Sense. Cheers, boys. Yeah, and I was waiting to drink this one too because I had I wanted to wait to do it on the show. It is that it's crispy and it's a West Coast too. Then sign me up.
Yeah, no, we're happy with this one. I feel like we're going the right path. Everything we're working on this animals line is a little bit new and different for us. Things that we wanted to do, they just didn't have either access to or just organizational, like just in the back of the house to make sure it all happens the way it wants to happen,
Yeah.
So I feel like this is just a move in the right direction here. I thought Giraffes is pretty cool. I think this kind of gives it like a next notch. And as we go forward with, I think what I was telling you guys earlier, like hippos are killer.
Yeah.
And I think the last one we're kind of going towards is dogs are noble.
I love it.
I think that one means a lot to everybody in the brewery too. So that'll be a fun one that has to be like over the top, spend too much money on, get yelled at. But at the end of the day, everyone likes it. So, I mean, this is just, the second in this line that we're having fun with right now.
Oh, dude. And I love that. But this one for sure it has that, that crispness like in the beginning, but it's super mellow on the back end. Where sometimes you get like a West Coast and it's just like, and don't get me wrong, I love bitterness, but it's just super, like this is, like the drinkability on this one is killer, brother.
I think what you speak to is exactly what we're trying to avoid, that bitterness that lingers on the back of your palate and compounds itself with each sip, right? To the point where it's just overwhelming. Like, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid with this one. That's why it's lighter at 6.5. We actually dried it out purposely a bit. So it's we didn't throw much grain in it, but it's like the finishing gravity is a lot lower, so a lot less sugar. So that's why the carbonation is so high to kind of balance that all out. But you get that nice punchiness, and then it just disintegrates. Sure. But it doesn't. It's not off-putting. It's not like you just take it again, you get that same experience. But simple, straightforward. But I like it. Yeah. What we're trying to make with this.
No, dude, it's delicious. I love this one. I mean, I love Giraffes. I mean, I've already had 2 of them today. So, but I love this one as well. So. And I love the can artwork, and I'm super excited to see the rest of them as they come out.
Yeah, no, I think with each one, I think that we're getting that little feedback that they like it, people like it, it's fun, it's simple, it's straightforward, it's new, it's something different. I think as we go and the names start getting dialed in more with like hippos are killer, because kind of the play on they're really killer, and also hey man, I'm a killer, bro.
If you've seen Jumanji, you know that.
Yeah. And just like building, I think like each one will get better. I think that Josh has done such an amazing job with all this. Like he literally just put our thoughts onto the the palette there.
For sure.
Like so, dude, we're stoked on this. Like this is probably the way I started off with this one, is because like we're really happy about this series. It's something new to us. Where all the other Westies were kind of repeats of past, brewers, whatnot. And this is the first time we actually kind of, like, for the West Coast at least, set off on our own path.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's just, making noble again, more or less, like after the pandemic, everything that happened. So,
of course.
Let's go to the next one, boys.
Yeah. So, and just one little thing, it'll be a preview for next week, like we kind of talked about, because, we talked about Mike, recording with me, you, and Mike, and, but I mean, I remember telling you like how like I felt like you guys were just like right now you guys are dialed in, and like things are just going up and up and up. Like and I'm sure on every What's New and Noble segment I sound this way, and I probably sound like a broken record, but it's honestly it's true though. Like what you guys are doing right now is you're killing it.
Thank you, man. And it is like I think Mike was kind of. Like, if you look at it like kind of a microcosm of the bigger picture, is that like when you meet people in the industry that you can work with who help you out.
Oh, for sure.
Like that synergy, like as long as there's give and take there, is just so meaningful. So like it's a lot of times here, it's I think around like we all got our brewing processes dialed in, like things when you think about from the outside looking at brewing, how good of a brewer is this person. But for the most part, all these breweries around here like know their system, they've dialed them in, And really now it's about that back end stuff. Like, how do we get more flavor in these beers?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get like the flavor we're aiming for that the customer wants? That's kind of that like mutual happiness of quality there, right?
Oh, for sure. How do you get it to pop?
Exactly. How do you get it to pop to, but like at the same time have the back of the house, like the cellarmen drink it or the brewers drink it and be like, typically like the stereotype is that brewers like lagers, but like, like we like all types of beers.
Of course.
Right.
If it's done well, you'll drink it.
Lagers are just kind of the more safe bet when you're going to drink a beer.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get sometimes. And like I think like you taste unsung beers now, ours are coming up. Like there's so many good breweries around here, and it's really just that positive feedback that's happening.
Oh yeah,
that like upward spiral of helping each other out here.
And if you guys, and I mean I mentioned it, well, not to spoil anything for next week, and I don't know if we talked about it on air or off air, but I remember saying that if you guys ever do another, well, I'm sure when you guys do another collab again, I just want to be a fleck on the wall, maybe throw in a hop or two,
Well, dude, I've been talking this up since
I know.
Like I've literally reached out to multiple people that were thought about, like Ron, about the Welcome to the Gangbang beer.
That'd be fucking hilarious.
Which everyone's all about. So
as long as that'd be so fun, and
definitely.
And we throw we'll hide a little Taproom Podcast logo on the can somewhere, so it almost like a Where's Waldo.
I think so. I think that's a necessity there. We'll definitely do that.
But which one are we drinking next?
So we're drinking the new Children of the Wheat, so our hef. We remade the hef. The goal here was the other one was we wanted a more clo forward in the first batch, and I felt like we pretty much got that. The issue just was the body on the last one, and this time we kind of were more particular about the technical processes, because the first time when we did this beer, this is one of those beers that like this to me is truly a brewer's beer, simply because these are processes done on the brewing process, where the brewing process for most beers is very like static between styles. I mean, not so much. There's like time changes that happen for certain processes, but like the steps in the process are the same. Where this beer has like multiple temperature rests for the mashes. Usually you do one rest temperature for a mash when you create the oatmeal that actually makes the liquid that makes the beer.
Yeah.
You just do one temperature rest meant to gelatinize the actual sugar on the grain, and to create to work with certain enzymes that work at different temperatures to determine whether the beer is going to be, fuller bodied or lighter bodied, right? But you're making fermentable sugars. Simple pictures. We're making some fermentables. Well, what we did with this is we take the only malt that I know of that's called what you call under modified, meaning it hasn't been processed, but which means you have to do multiple rests. You don't do just what's called saccharification or sugar making process. You also do like a protein making process. You do a precursor for flavor making process, so-called 4VG or 4-vinyl glycol, or whatever it's called, to make that clove note. Mm-hmm. So we go through all these processes on the hot side with the yeast we've particularly chosen to further emphasize those flavors. But the last time we didn't have body, but I feel like this time we actually have body on the beer. I feel like we're dialing it in, but like this is truly a German classic Bavarian style Hefeweizen.
Yeah, and it's like you're talking about the full body, like that. It has a good mouthfeel to it. Mm-hmm. For sure. And it's not like overly heavy, where like I mean, at least from when I was a kid, I remember drinking like Pyramid and thinking it was kind of heavy, and this is super, like, it's still light, and I feel like it's crushable too.
Like a marshmallow or a cloud in your mouth, almost, in a sense. That's why I always get off it when I'm drinking, and I like that. It gives you a different mouthfeel.
Mm-hmm. You say that what she said? Well, there you go.
Wow.
It's the one joke of the show. I'm just kidding.
Did we hit our quota?
We hit our quota for jokes on the show. You never paid for drugs. I don't know why I'm thinking of, what's the one? What's his name from? It's John C. Reilly, but he's supposed to be Johnny Cash. The Ballad of.
God.
He's like, you never paid for drugs.
No, Walk the Line's the real one, right?
Yeah, Walk the Line's the real one, and it's the other one. Oh no, it's Dewey Cox. He's like, why don't you ask Bob Dylan why he sounds like Dewey Cox? Classic. I don't know why that popped in my head, but it's when what's his name says, like, yeah, you never paid for drugs, not once. I had to do it. Sorry. Oh, that's good stuff. There we go.
You guys ready for the candy beers?
Let's do it.
I get in trouble for calling these beers. My taproom people are like, it's not beer, it's seltzer, Jimmy. I'm like,
Yeah, still brewed. Still got to do it the right way. Oh yeah, the Flamingle.
Flamingle. I think this is the.
I was waiting to try this one too, so I'm excited.
This is the first one I think I've done since I've been here. I'm trying to think if there's been anyone else that I'm gonna make mad now. The first time that anybody outside the actual cellar or the brewery side of the company has actually had a hand in. So This is Kelsey from the tap room. Actually came with the idea, and well, let's just be honest about this one. It was a good idea, and I didn't want to do the work. So we just sourced the ingredients, and we figured out what flavor mimic what In-N-Out uses for their pink lemonade, and just used that flavor. Gave her the bottle and said, "Okay, here's the base. Mix it up. Tell me what ratio is right." And she did it all at the front of the house.
Love it.
Before a shift. And we used all those numbers. She actually made it with me on the day. There's pictures on the website, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I saw them on Instagram and all that stuff.
And the idea was to make pink lemonade like In-N-Out, and I think she absolutely killed it.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to... I'll throw it on at the end of the episode. I have my little mini mic, so I'm going to have her talk about her baby.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a weird problem. But when I mean her baby, I mean Flamingle.
Wow, dude, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for... People are like, what the fuck?
No, but the can's amazing, too.
Oh, I love the can.
The can is...
Like, I can only, obviously, it's always kind of... It's not summer in California right now, but it's always kind of summer in California. Yeah. But
I think this is actually rad for us personally. Like, it's like a milestone for us because this is kind of the first beer we've put out that's actually in time for the holidays, like for Valentine's Day at least. So our Valentine's Day beer, and we've been so disorganized, but overworked. Disorganized because we're so overworked here, trying to catch up, get things streamlined, get things more efficient. I feel like this is kind of a milestone in the sense of we have a couple more lined up. We have our chocolate mint stout coming out for St. Patty's Day that's going to be on time, thankfully. But this is the first one we've hit a holiday with, and we're stoked on that. It means a lot to us. Just get that.
You get that sweetness, but then you get that sourness to kind of cut through it on the back end. I was going to give you the Bill Clinton, the little thumbs up, like you guys killed it. But it's you guys did great. You guys are awesome.
I don't know what it would be thankful or kind of scared. I'm kind of scared a little bit.
Yeah. You all. No, I probably should.
Is this working towards something more, Mike? That's what I want to know.
Probably should. I might cut this out. Might leave it in. Who knows? But I mean, I was, it's like.
This is actually really good.
I'm not going to do the Bill Clinton anymore.
This is dangerous.
No, this is super dangerous. It's
good. I don't drink it.
Yeah, I'm going to... And what's the percentage on this one?
6.9. Of
course it is. Oh, it's a sexy 6.9.
We even made sure that, literally, you can check it. It's 6.9. Right. Go punch these cans for us somewhere.
Yeah, it's a sexy 6.9. That wasn't the best one. The other one was better earlier.
It's getting more creeped out over here.
Yeah. It's I knew you'd be back. All right, I'm going to stop now. Sorry, everybody
listening.
Continue, man. Keep it going. I used to be able to do a pretty good Bill, but now, like I said, it's probably not a good idea to do a Bill impression.
No, this one, I told you guys earlier, is we actually use another product in here, a souring product that actually kind of made this all kind of come together. So it's not just your typical seltzer.
No, not at all.
It's not. It's that sour note in the end is something extra we added that I'm pretty stoked on, that we're going to keep on adding. It might be, I might say what it is one day, but not right now. That's for sure.
That's awesome because, what I would get, you know what, it almost, because you said, it was like a lemon, almost reminds me like a lemon up, but I would get the Sprite and the pink lemonade.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, that's a great description of it there. That is it. Which is cool because, you try to place these things, right?
Yeah.
And you hope someone doesn't place it as, pizza sauce has been in a trash can for a day.
Yeah.
Which is one of our famous ones here at Noble. But yeah, this one, I'm stoked on it. We're going to make it again. God, I just don't hope she doesn't get a big head over me.
Oh, yeah. No, she's never
so scary, bro.
She'd be like, I killed it on my first try. She's like, what have you done lately?
She already put the post up on her Instagram, integrating my brewer's face. And I was
I saw that.
I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I was like, yep, well. I was like, well, Jimmy's gonna be like, all right, well, she's got that big head.
The worst part is she already lined up 2 other ones that I was telling you guys about earlier. They're like hit me like I'm like they're like nail on the head. Like, okay, we got an Easter beer now.
Yeah.
And we got like something like a summer spritzer here.
Yeah. So hit me baby one more time.
Oh God, right?
Yeah.
Disasters.
Yeah.
So this last one I'm pouring is probably like so. We do the tikis, and we've talked about tikis on here before.
Oh, for sure.
You know, of course. But this is kind of the one we did that was done specifically for Jeff Granito, who's a very, very, very famous, if not the most famous tiki artist in the game, along with Shag and Tiki Tony, who's done all our artwork, who's been so amazing to us. But he asked us personally to make a zombie because that's his favorite tiki drink. And
awesome.
To be frank, I think it's like between me, Paul, Josh, and Cam. I know this is Cam's favorite tiki drink too, and Paul and me both love it to death. I know we all love it. Like we all have our differences in terms of favorite, but like so, this was a disaster. Let me say it's good. It's our take on it, but like this is the most complex tiki drink we've ever done. And usually I do 1 5-gallon R&D batch, and I hit it by that one. This one I did 2 R&D batches. They both were way off the mark. And it got to the point where it's just too close, and we just kind of, we just got to do this massive batch of zombie seltzer. And so it was kind of a game of just pushing a little bit more passion fruit at it, because that was, Stowaway really talked us through us. Dominic talked us through it. And then on Tuesday we went in there and had it and realized how passion fruit, guava forward theirs was, and we just kind of manipulated it. But like, I feel like we pulled it off, and I feel like the guys are saying like, everyone's stoked on it, but it's our own take on it. So you get a little bit of that cinnamon note that's already in the zombie.
Yeah.
And the point of the cinnamon is kind of to be an under note to the passion fruit and the guava, if you put guava in it. But I think we pushed it a little bit more just to cut through some of the more harsh notes of our alcohol in here.
Okay. Let's jump on in.
But I think you just...
You don't have to talk solo, Christopher.
But it balances out.
Yeah, I think I still had a little bit of the pink lemonade, so going for a second one.
Did I do them in the wrong order? I think I did them in the wrong order here.
Nah, it's all good.
I went from a 6.9% to an 11. No, this is 9.5.
I was say 11. Holy shit.
No, 9.5. And you feel that when it hits you too.
Oh yeah.
So we recirced. This is the first time we actually really recirced on spirals. So this is oak 2 on rum spirals to really give it like that rum flavor. So really what you're tasting here, like, so we have Flamingle that's like candy, right? Here we're really just trying to recreate the cocktail in beer form.
Yeah.
That's why you get that harshness. You get that wood note. You get the dark wood note in there. It's the rum note. You get that balance. Cinnamon, the passion fruit guava really comes in behind there too. The passion fruit guava builds on the cinnamon. It's an extremely complex like seltzer. That's why the 2 failures came about, is because we're putting lime, we're putting pomegranate, we're putting cinnamon, we're putting passion fruit, we're putting guava, we're putting a rum, something that approximates the rum flavor, all together balanced in some way, shape, or form to create this. And I think, personally, this is kind of like probably the best thing we'll ever do with the tiki seltzers, I think.
Yeah.
Just from and this is more of a connoisseur standpoint, I feel, like for a cocktail standpoint. Like some of the other ones, like Watch Me Whip, are more towards Flamingle kind of thing. Like some of the earlier ones, like I want to say Shrunken Skull, Norwegian Paralysis, and then Painkiller.
Yeah.
We're more candy, where this is like more like Jet Pilot, where we did the Jet Pilot. And this is much more like, I think with the tiki drinks, what you get is you get this blend between, you get spice notes, which are more like, I'd say something like sweet, like umami kind of stuff. Then you get the bitter notes, the bitter taste, and you get the sweet taste. And this is kind of the first time where we've tried to balance bitter, sweet, umami against, what was the last one? Spice, like the spice note, that savory note too.
Yeah.
Like this is like every taste you can imagine in a single drink, which is why I think a lot of people like it. But you got to have like that palate for it, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I feel like too, when you have, like, when you're doing something like this, like, I feel like, because it's I'm sure, I mean, I'm not really, obviously I'm not familiar with like all the tiki stuff, but like when you have something as complex as like the lines that you guys have, or the like all the different like the tiki drinks. Like I can only imagine. Well, when I say complex, I mean like how complex it is for you guys to be able to figure out to try to dial in that recipe or to make it taste like. If you're at a tiki bar, you want to taste the drink like this, and then but for you guys having to upscale it this way, I can only imagine what how the tough that would have been.
I think like the way I look at it is kind of more from from mathematics perspective. Complexity is like like butterfly and a hurricane. Kind of like when you go from 2 to 3, you add so much complexity to something. And then you're dealing with like taste. So taste being like not flavors, but like bitterness, sweetness, like saltiness, like umami, like savoriness. Like, and then you add a flavor component to it. The complexity just gets to the point where it's kind of, I guess the best way to put it is when you do it big, scaling it up. Like typically when I do these seltzers, I want 2 to 3 ingredients max. I want maybe 2 that combine for a flavor aspect, and maybe 1 that balances sweetness against bitterness or some kind of spice or whatever. But this is like 7 ingredients, trying to balance them all, and then you scale them up, and it becomes a game of, okay, we knew we weren't going to hit it first blush. Like when we scaled it up, we knew we were going to have to add a little bit more. So it was always this game right now of adding a little bit more, adding a little bit more. It's always passion fruit, more passion fruit.
Yeah.
More passion fruit. But I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, like I think we did our own version on it, but I don't think this is something you get as a zombie at a lot of places. I think when you go, we figured that when you go to get a cocktail, the same cocktail, maybe from the same place, you're going to get a different version of it every time. Yeah. Like we were trying to hit something on the head that was impossible.
Yeah. Well, and every bartender, when you go to a place, like they're not going to make the drink exactly the same way. It might be a different bartender.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing we learned. Like kind of, it was a learning process for us because we never put so much time between all 4 of us into one. Like I think we've never focused so hard on something before.
That's awesome.
And so, I mean, I feel like what we came out with from the standpoint of the market we're trying to accommodate right now, the tiki market, we hit the nail on the head. Yeah. It's just a matter of, the bigger market, we're starting to see that we're starting to compartmentalize ourselves in who we're approaching. And, so it's kind of this game now of like, how far do we go? Like we need to pull back a little bit. Mm-hmm. This is kind of the pinnacle of complexity we're ever going to hit here on these, I feel.
Oh, yeah. And well, you know what I was actually talking with my brother about it the other day about your guys' tiki seltzers, and I was like, you're gonna see an influx of like other people trying to like seeing your stuff, and then like, all right, well, we need to try to replicate that. I mean, I was almost compared to like college football to the NFL, where I feel like if it works in college football, the NFL is kind of like a copycat league, and they try to like, oh, okay, well, this worked in college, it should work in the pros, and it's been that way for I don't know for forever, it feels like. But I mean, when you find that thing, like you guys are dialing it in, and every time I think it's like, oh, this is amazing. Like, you put out another batch of something, and I'm like, oh fuck. Well, it's better than it was last time.
I mean, you see that with like giraffes, and like that's all the game is, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you evolve or die. Evolve or die is the best way. Like my brewmaster Aaron Justice at Ballast Point would say it to us. Like when I was working at Ballast Point, is evolve or die. Like if you do make a series like this, if the subsequent one doesn't surpass the prior one in some way, shape, or form, like you've kind of either just like hit middle ground where you're like plateauing, or you've starting to like go down. And you need to readjust and like simplify things probably because you're fucking up.
Oh, for sure. But, I mean, that's it. It's like we talked about it last day. I said, get busy living or get busy dying. We talked about Shawshank.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like, and to talk about next week, to plug next week, Jimmy was on, Mike Ray was on. It was a blast. I might have left twice. Only for a couple of minutes, because I had to go pee really bad. I mean, that sounded bad. I had to piss. We'll just say that. I had to piss, and then I had to go get the beer tender. Super nice. I think Audrey, I think her name was. Yeah. She came and did a video of us recording and stuff like that. So I got some good stuff. But it was a blast last week. Man.
That was amazing. I mean, Tigers came out of that podcast.
Yeah.
Literally on the spot. Like, I knew what I was doing, but he just put like words into like action for me.
Yeah.
It was rad.
Well, in the intro for this week's episode, I was talking about like it just reminded me of like a brewers roundtable, and me being a fly on the wall and stuff like that. And it was just I said that earlier, but I'm saying it again because that's how it felt. Like it was just so fun to just listen to you guys and like to talk about like everything and like like the entire process, whether it was before we started recording or then we ended and then I know everybody kind of had to leave, but it was like I was so like immersed is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I think the thing about Mike is just how, for an owner, knowledgeable and involved in the process of brewing and flavor making, he is
so much knowledge.
Literally, he just absorbs so much knowledge from so many amazing people in the community, and he's such a source of information.
Yeah,
like me and him, like I love talking with him and exchanging like ideas and information because like he's just one of the best at that, unquestionably one of the best I've ever met at that.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted him to be on, because he was on episode 1, so I wanted him to be on 52. But when him and I were talking about it, he's like, do you think you could get Jimmy to be on? I was like, of course I could. I mean, I'll talk to Jimmy. And it was just a blast.
Yeah, we have great conversations, me and Mike. I still remember the first time I met him in Native Son, and we sat there and talked for, I think it was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think he got in trouble from I was his like wife or something.
We talked about that before we recorded. Yeah.
He's next to me. We're sitting down, just nerding out on beer like the biggest idiots in the world. It's so funny.
No, it was great. And so thanks for being on today, Jimmy.
Oh, dude, thank you for having me. I enjoy this more every time I'm on here.
Yeah.
Like it's just like my normal Saturday now.
Yeah. And then so for next week's episode, like I said, it's going to be the Noble and Unsung episode, but we're going to call that episode 2 Mikes, 1 Jimmy.
Ooh.
So.
On the cup?
Yeah. It's going to be a Jimmy sandwich right on the Jimmy.
Did we go over the quota right there? I feel like we might have gone over the quota.
All right. So I got to think of a quote to finish the episode. I was saying but I don't want to use the same quote. You know what? I got one. Did you ever see Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell? Yeah. He says, if you don't make it, it's your own damn fault. That's a bitch slap of truth right there. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.